Welcome to this week's Your High School Sports. The full crew is back in the studio. It was fun last week by myself and everybody's on assignment, but we are back. So let's jump right into it. Let's see what's going on with Jake.
Starting off with the Union Bears. They're 6-1 right now, on a roll so far this season. Got a big win over Ridgeview this past week, and then this coming week they face Central, which is 4-2 on the season so far. And then on down the road, we're also looking at the Graham G-Men. They were slated during the preseason to do well, and they have. Got a star offensive lineman in Brody Meadows. He was an all-freshman last year. Just a powerful, powerful weapon for them to anchor their running game. The G-Men 4-2 right now on the season, facing Virginia High at 0-6 this week. So look for a big win for Graham to stabilize their schedule. 5-2 going into next week is what I'm picking. And then also a major matchup between a couple 500 teams. Richland's the Blue Tornado, 3-3 right now, facing Marion, which is also 3-3 this week. So look for a really big matchup between those teams and trying to get above 500 for one of those clubs this week in the Commonwealth. Roddy, back to you guys.
All right, Jake. Hey, great report on Southwest Virginia. Some great football players in Southwest Virginia. What's happening in the Tri-Cities?
Oh, in the Tri-Cities, always some good things happen in the Tri-Cities. I always root for the boys in Tri-Cities, like the team we always talk about who was still undefeated. The Elizabethton Cyclones took a little trip down to Maynardville and ended up having a great game. They had an outstanding performance from all aspects. And, of course, Bryson Rollins, quarterback, he did it on both sides. Well, not both sides, but meaning both ways, meaning in the air and on the ground. Of course, hitting his man Parker Hughes. Man, always in the news. But what I want to talk about with this Elizabethton game is because Cameron Trim, one of the backup running backs, went down in the second half, and guess what they did? They brought in the freshman.
Freshman?
Which actually happens to be my son's best friend, Mr. Nate Stevens.
Nice.
Comes in as a freshman, and this is what's exciting about the second half. Turns it out. His first game running the ball, 140-plus yards,
Whoa.
2 touchdowns.
Freshman, way to go, freshman.
Game. Outstanding game. So congratulations to him. Wanted to point that out. Also, moving right along, I know Bart Lyon will probably talk a little bit about this game Wednesday, but just want to shout out to those Hilltoppers. They got things back on track over Morristown West.
Yeah, Morristown West. I know you're going to talk about Morristown West. So,
Yep, it was rough.
It was rough. So what's happened in the Lakeway area?
Well, obviously Morristown West had a rough out against Science Hill. It was a 42-15. It was just not what they looked for. They're having a real tough season. I mean, up there in 6A, the big boys are out there to play. And Science Hill, the end of the year, is really coming to play and really turn it up as we go into. But Morristown East had a big victory this week. They played Sevier County, played a good matchup. And I was able to catch up with Coach Slover and let you hear me a little bit of that tip.
Yeah, I think, the big thing for us was, we've been close all year and we never could. We hadn't been able to kind of put it all together and figure out a way to hang on to one and or put one away. And, Friday night was kind of the same story. It was going the same way, but, we intercepted a pass and with no time left on the clock. They're throwing it to their best player. Evan Seals was covering him, did a great job, goes up and gets the interception. But, we just had a bunch of kids that just played really well Friday night.
All right. Yeah, hey, Coach Slover, they should be on the high to beat Sevier County, and then, everything's clicking on that in Tri-Cities area because the big game this week, which is one of your games, Greenville Elizabethton.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But, let's check in with Jake. Let's see what's happened down in Chattanooga area, and then he's going to go out west.
Well, Roddy, down that area, we are looking at the McCallie Blue Tornado. They're rolling along as usual right now. 7-0 so far this season, coming off a big win, 35-28 over Baylor. That's a huge game every year, a big rivalry between those schools. So McCallie coming out with the win this season, and the Blue Tornado facing Father Ryan this week out of closer to Nashville. So look for that to be a big matchup between those teams there in the Chattanooga area. We're also looking at Bradley Central coming off a very rough loss to Maryville this past week up here close to Knoxville. Trey Curry coming into that game leading that offense. They had posted over 50 points per game on average coming into this week, and Maryville held them to just 7. So a really big stand there for the Rebels out of Maryville, but Bradley Central looking to bounce back this week. On down in Nashville, we're also looking at Montgomery Bell Academy. So NBA right now on a 4-game win streak, ending with one over Brentwood Academy this past week. This week they face one of those Chattanooga teams, Baylor, and Elijah Howard at 6-1 coming in to Montgomery Bell Academy. Their lone loss to McCallie, their big rival, as I mentioned earlier. So look for that to be a major matchup there in the Middle Tennessee area as the Big Red take on the Red Raiders out of Chattanooga. We're also looking at Gallatin right now, 7-0 right now, coming off a 36-0 win over Hunters Lane. This week they face Hendersonville, which is 3-4 right now. So look for Gallatin to keep rolling along as well. And guys, that'll do it for Middle Tennessee. Roddy, moving on from Nashville down closer to Memphis, about 3 hours down I-40, we are looking at the MUS Owls right now, 6-1 on the season so far, coming off a 44-7 drubbing of St. Benedict at Auburndale 2 weeks ago. Marcus Henderson, a big offensive lineman for them, listed as one of the top players in several Tennessee newspapers before this season, and they need him to anchor that run game, especially going into this week as they face Pope John Paul II, which is 4-3 right now out of Nashville. But we're also looking at another team from Memphis this week, the Briarcrest Saints. Bryant Stewart leading his team to a 7-0 record so far this year, 21-17 win over Christian Brothers 2 weeks ago, entering the bye week. And then now this week they face Cordova, which is just 3-4 on the season. So I'm looking for the Saints to get a big win this week against Cordova. So that'll do it for West Tennessee. A lot of exciting talent and matchups coming your way.
All right, guys, we've heard from around the region, our region. We've heard from Southwest Virginia, we've heard from Middle, we've heard from Chattanooga, we've heard from West Tennessee, Lakeway, Tri-Cities. Let's talk a little bit, and when we come back, we got a special feature. I'm going to the house of Jake when we come back here on Your High School Sports. So keep it here. We'll be right back.
I need your trade. I need your trade. I need your trade. I'll tell you what, look at my lot. It's getting empty. That's because we've been selling a ton of vehicles. Make the short trip to Baca Menard. I need your trade. That means I'm going to put some dinero, some cash, lots of money in it. I'll tell you what, with your trade being worth what it is and the extra trade-in rebates, you can save up to $7,500 on a brand new 19 Cadillac XT5. Make the short trip to Baca Menard, Chevrolet, Buick, GMC, Cadillac, right here in Greenville, where as always, I'm going to save you money.
Welcome back to Your High School Sports. I've come over into Jake's house. He invited me over to talk a little about Knoxville football. Some great football going on down there. A couple of schools that were off last week, Knox West. They got a big game this week. But let's talk about Fulton. That's a surprising story right there. They got their first win Friday night.
Yeah, they did, and I know that it has to be really big for Rob Black's program. I know Tommy Sweat, their quarterback, had to be really excited as well. And the Falcons, let's see if they can get something rolling now that they've got that first win under the belt. Let's see if they get a little bit of confidence after that going forward.
You know, some other teams down there, you know, some schools that are just now picking up. Since we are in the middle right now, it's playoff time. I talked to a couple coaches today. Is it playoff time? Is it playoff time?
It is right now, at least if you want to determine your seeding. If you want to determine how things are going to end up shaking out, you've got to get wins right now. Some of those mediocre programs that we've seen lately starting to rise up a little bit in the Knoxville area, starting to try to cement themselves a little bit more as we get closer to the postseason, because right now it is all hands on deck each and every week to try to clinch those spots for playoff time in Tennessee.
You know, when we talk about playoffs, when we talk about Knoxville, there's so many schools down there, so many good schools. One school that stands out the most for you this year?
The West Rebels by far right now. I know Lamar Brown has his program absolutely rolling right now, 7-0 coming off the bye week, and they've got a big test this week against the Powell Panthers. It's huge on Friday night. It's going to be a packed house over there at Powell High School, but we'll see if the Rebels are going to be ready. They've got Baker Dance at quarterback. They've got Isaiah Mattress at running back. They've also got a very good threat in Omarion Wright at kickoff return, and then he also plays a little bit of defense. And then, of course, that monster defensive line for the Rebels as well, with Drew Francis at linebacker. So they've got a lot of playmakers across the field, but they've got a big test against Powell. Of course, Walker Trusley at quarterback, and then several other playmakers across the field. So we'll see what can happen. I know it's going to be a big matchup.
Big matchup, but you got to touch on a little bit of Blount County because that's right there too. The Rebels are rolling. They get T. Hodges back this week from a turf toe injury. You can't say enough about Alcoa. So let's leave it at that.
Yeah, you really can't. So the big matchup this week for West and Powell, and then also one for Farragut and Bearden. I know they're big rivals this week, and they play on Thursday Night Football. Bearden coming off a big win over Jeff County, and Farragut coming off a loss at Dobbins-Bennett. So we'll see how they rebound against the Bulldogs. So two primary matchups this week in Knox County.
Big game Thursday night. That's the Thursday night rivalry game. So we'll be right back here on Your High School Sports right after this.
Just look at all those freshly made Krispy Kreme donuts. I'm sure it makes you want one or a dozen right now. So come visit our locally owned and operated Krispy Kreme donuts in Pigeon Forge. Our Krispy Kreme donuts are made fresh daily, our service is fast and friendly, and the taste will put a smile on anyone's face. Krispy Kreme is a fundraising favorite, so call us today to help support your school or community fundraising efforts. Our delivery truck is there when you need us. Krispy Kreme Donuts on the Parkway in Pigeon Forge.
I'll tell you what, at Bachman Bernard Chevrolet Buick GMC Cadillac right here in Greenville, we've got the savings. You want them? Like I said, we've got them. How about saving up to $12,000? That's right, saving up to $12,000 on a brand new 2019 Chevrolet Crew Cab Silverado with the All-Star package. Make the short trip to Bachman Bernard Chevrolet Buick GMC Cadillac right here in Greenville, where as always, you know it, I'm going to save you money.
You are watching Your High School Sports, the source for football in the Southeast. Powered by Krispy Kreme Donuts on the Parkway in Pigeon Forge and on Highway 66 in Sevierville. Here is your host, Roddy Woods, along with co-host Chris Blevins, Chris Reddick, and Jake Nichols.
Chris, I want to go back to you because we left out a big team up in your area. Let's talk about those Indians.
Oh, yeah, the Indians. You know what? I was able to capture the Indians a little bit earlier in the season with that big win over Oak Ridge. So I was wondering, is this the real deal? Did they have really a turnaround like they did last week? And guess what? It was proven this past week because they took on Knox Farragut, which we all know is a tough team.
Yes.
And Knox Farragut tried to come into Indian territory just like Oak Ridge and found out that, hey, Dobbins-Bennett is the real deal. And they had outstanding game. I think they were able to put up 21 points in one quarter over Farragut. So congratulations to them. Of course, their quarterback, Zane Winston, he had a nice game. I believe he had a couple of touchdowns, as well as they had their Tanier, I think I'm saying his name right, the running back, he had 2 touchdowns. So congratulations to the Dobbins-Bennett Indians. They got things turned around, and right now they lead in number 1 in the division, along with a chance of now Science Hill with their win having a chance to try to sneak back in to make this thing a 3-way tie when the Hilltoppers take on Dobbins-Bennett in a couple of weeks.
Let me ask you this, since you wasn't here, you were on out last week. What's going on with Lake Placid?
Well, Lake Placid, I mean, they're doing a really good job. They had a tough loss this past week. They're going to have to rebound a little bit, but they're still picking up. Given New Orleans, with New Orleans, they had a tough one there. They battled really hard. But then they came back this week and had another tough loss. But, they're playing in a tough conference. Bubba's first year coaching there. They're still doing a really good job. They still got a couple more games to go. We're going to make sure we stick with Lake Placid.
Yes.
Something else I wanted to mention, your high school sports game of the week last week was over here at Northview and Pigeon Forge.
Yes.
Jake and all of the crew were there. It was a great game. Both those teams have a tough season, but there was somebody that came out victorious. Pigeon Forge came out with their first win of the season. It was a great game. There was a great atmosphere. It was senior night at Northview. And we just want to thank Northview Academy for having us out there. It was a great atmosphere, and you can watch that game on the playback.
Yes, with the band still playing.
And the band still playing at Northview.
The band plays on.
And you can see the the playback. This week, though, guys, you guys got Sevier County versus Seymour, another big rivalry in the county. So
it's going to be a big game, and make sure we see you out there. I might even have some free T-shirts for you to come out and see us.
Oh, you coming early this year.
Oh, Christmas is coming early. All right, so everything is clicking. It's playoff time, guys. Last week, how many balls? How many?
Oh, I'm still saying 3.
I think they're growing.
East Tennessee.
Yeah, I'm still in the middle between 4 and 5, but I'll stick with 5.
You know what I got? I got 6. I got 6. I might not know where they're coming from, but I got 6.
Well, like Jake said a few weeks ago, if you added the whole state, of course there's going to be 6. That may be his strategy at the end.
Well, since we are now covering Chat, Middle Tennessee, and West Tennessee, 6. Got y'all. I got
Whatever
y'all.
it takes to get those go balls.
I got y'all. All right, guys, it's time for your high school sports top 10. All right, here I'll give them to you. You read them off this week.
Okay, we're going to do tag team here. I'm going to read one, and Chris is going to read one. We're going to work our way up. At number.
Turn it on the back.
Oh, on the back. Number 10, we got Knox West.
Number 9, DB.
Number 8, Davy Crockett.
Number 7, Chattanooga Macaulay. Excuse
Number
me.
6, Alcoa and those Tornadoes.
Number 5, Ravenwood.
Number 4, Memphis University School.
Number
in US.
3, Knox Central.
Number 2, Oakland.
And leading out our top 10, number 1, the Maryville Rebels.
All right, I got a feeling that that's going to hold up. We get 6 right here.
All day, huh?
All day. Make sure you go to your high school sports Facebook account and check us out on Facebook. Jake's Magazine on Wednesday on Facebook. The show's up tomorrow. All we got to do, guys, is get ready for the playoffs.
Yeah.
I'm playoff bound.
Oh, yeah. Ready to go. Weather's changing.
Yeah.
It's colder.
It's football time. Your high school sports town. Right. All right. For Chris Blevins, Chris Reddick, and Jake Nichols in his corner, I'm Roddy Woods, and we'll see you next week right here on Your High School Sports.
Your High School Sports is sponsored in part by Krispy Kreme Donuts on the Parkway in Pigeon Forge and on Highway 66 in Sevierville, and Bachman Bernard Chevrolet Buick GMC Cadillac in Greenville.